Around that time, my school was raising some funds for the Indian Army, for the Kargil Welfare Fund. I went to my father and requested him to give me some money so that I could deposit in the Kargil Army Fund. My father told, that is my money. What will be your contribution? You should do something. And then he gave me the idea that anyway you paint as a hobby. For this cause, sit and paint. Make some paintings. Come to my office, go elsewhere, take to your school, sell this to your teachers, raise some money. Even if it is 100 rupees, it will be your contribution. Do it yourself. And I think that one lesson, that one episode from my life has brought me in multiple ways closer to the Indian Armed Forces. In high school, I went and enrolled myself as a cadet of the NCC. The lessons that we've learned in interactions with families of martyrs, when interactions with officers in the troops in the border areas, always leaves us inspired. I never thought that I will get one day an opportunity of this kind where I get to be amongst all of you to share our thoughts on national security and what all of us as young people can do to protect and strengthen this country. At the very outset, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Friends, when I stand here and I see all of you, I remember and I recollect the massive, mighty, heroic heritage that all of us are a part of, that all of us share. Our civilization, our country has been one of valor and one of heroism. From Lalitaditya of Kashmir to Rani Channamma of Karnataka, from Maharana Pratap of Mewar to Lachit Barphukan of Manipur. This civilization has produced leaders, heroes, who have faced adversity in the most difficult of times. Our history is not a collection of mere dates and events. India's civilizational history is a saga of courage engraved in time. From Kurukshetra to Kargil, from Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj to Guru Gobind Singh, from Major Somnath Sharma to Sandeep Unni Krishnan, the same tradition of heroism, service, sacrifice, this is something that has always been the hallmark of this civilization. From Ramayana to Operation Sindoor, we have fought not because we have hated the enemy, but we have fought because we love the values that we stand for. We have fought for peace, we have fought for the right cause, and most importantly, we have always fought for dharma. And that has been the civilizational bedrock guiding the armed forces even to this day. As we recollect all of this, we also remember that today India as a civilization is at a very interesting crossroads. A very interesting time in history, where the choices that we make today will have great impact for the next decades to come, not just for India, not just for our domestic life, but for the whole of the world. It's a very interesting time when an old nation is awakening and remembering what it was. It is also an interesting time because a new generation is discovering what it can be. And all of this is happening at a time of great possibility. We were just discussing outside of how different India was when our grandparents were of our age, when our parents were of our age. It was an India of scarcity, long queues to get rationed food, long queues to even get Telephone connections, you had to wait years on end. You had to get a recommendation from a member of parliament to get an LPG connection. Limited seats, limited jobs, limited opportunities, and limited dreams. From the era of scarcity, from the generation of scarcity, we have now moved to a generation of possibility. And it is our generation that is actually making these things happen, seeing these things happen. The first country in the world to land on the south pole of the moon. The country that has digitized governance in the shortest span of time, a model for digital delivery of good governance. We are meeting our renewable energy targets much before our own set deadlines. We are the third largest startup ecosystem and cluster in the world. We are truly living in times which has fantastic momentum. Momentum that India had never seen before. And while we think of this momentum, while we appreciate these green shoots, it is all the more important to remember that India's rise, because of our demography, because of where we are positioned, because of our economy today, is not inevitable. It is not that India will become the force to reckon with or reclaim its historical glory automatically. Not that it is a matter of fact, not that somebody is going to hand it out to us on a platter. Glory, whether it is for an individual or for a nation, has to be earned. And it has to be strived for or earned every single day. And it is for that striving, that collective national effort, that efforts of this kind play a vital role to remind ourselves of what our collective national duty is. 65% of the country's population is less than 35 years of age. 50% of the country's population is less than 25%, 25 years of age. While many other countries are struggling to think of what to do with their pension funds and how to manage their aging population, our country's biggest challenge is how do we provide jobs, how do we provide opportunities to the millions of aspirations, the billions of aspirations in this country. I think all of this needs a strong leadership that rests on the shoulders of young India. Because that's our biggest strength, the bulge, the demographic dividend. And by leadership, friends, I don't mean political leadership. Because a nation is not just the government. A nation is so much more. And by leadership, I mean, how can we be role models for the kids in our home? If you're a young parent, as a young mother or a father, are you doing proper role modeling for the kid who is seeing you and growing up? If you're a traffic constable, are you doing your job properly? If you're a janitor in a private company working somewhere, do you do your job with the 100% commitment that is needed? Do you do it to the best of your ability? If you're a teacher in a classroom, are you making sure that your kids get the best education? So leadership is not defined by the position that we occupy, but leadership is the attitude that we bring to a particular responsibility. Sometimes we think, tomorrow after I get this job or if after I get this post or rank, then I will behave in this way. But life always works in a counterintuitive manner. If you start behaving like that already, then you become that later. So as young people, we must remember that it's not the big things that actually matter to make a change. It's the small things that add up to what is the national culture. Will you have the moral courage to say no when somebody offers you drugs in your college campus? Your moral courage starts from there. Before you fight a battle in Siachen, Do you have the courage to stand up in support of your friend who was eve-teased or harassed? Will you show that moral strength? That matters. Before you speak of bigger ideas of sensitivity and service, will you rush if you see somebody fall on the road because of an accident, help them? These are small things that actually make a huge difference. We have been discussing over the last, in all of our interactions, that India's national culture needs to change and improve. These are the small things, our generation, that needs to change this, my dear friends. What do you mean by national culture? The moment we use the word culture, we think going to temple is culture, praying to this god or that god is culture. But what is culture? What is a national culture? I was just reading the news of a flyover project in my constituency that has gotten stuck from the last 8 years. To build a 2-kilometer flyover, we have taken 8 years. We have missed one deadline upon another. This is not just the case of one project or one bridge. You will have a similar example back in your own state, back in your own city. Why does this start? It starts from not valuing time, not being punctual to a program. If you can't come to a program in time, if you can't value a time of another individual, then your projects also will get delayed. It's national culture. If we can't keep our home and the neighborhood street clean, our cities will end up filthy. If we can't be polite in our interactions to one another, we will be a brutish civilization, a culture. If we are in an airport lounge and speaking loudly on the phone with loudspeaker, it doesn't reflect well on the culture. These are small things, but these are things that make a national culture. Punctuality, cleanliness, integrity. This morning, the first news we all read in the newspaper, I don't know how many of you followed it, was about how a father had to bribe a police officer in Bangalore to collect the death certificate of his son or daughter. We have become okay with corruption. It has become a part of culture. I was just mentioning that it has become so endemic that sometimes I see when kids organize college competitions, college fests, if there is a remaining sponsorship money left, chalo bhai uda do. It starts with that. We cannot be okay with such things. That is how a cultural transformation takes place. These are small things, my dear friends, but these are things that will actually reflect in a national culture. And together, I think there are 6 things that we need to work on as our generation that is wanting to build a strong India. What can we do? Strong values. I mentioned about it. That's the foundation of national security. Why did our heroes of our epics, Rama and Krishna, why did they wage wars? For values. So a country without strong values is not worth defending. We need strong mind. That's the foundation on which national security can be built, a strong nation can be built. If you look at India's decline, historically, when India went down technologically, we stopped innovating. India became prey to foreigners. Especially important national pursuits like breeding of war horses. At one point of time, India boasted some of the best war horses. And somehow, due to the passage of time, we lost the art of horse breeding. We had to import all kinds of horses. And there are recorded instances, Al-Biruni, many others write, of when horses were sent to India. If 2,000 were shipped, only a few hundred would survive by the end of the year. Precious foreign exchange was lost because of that. We lost the art of weapon manufacturing. Therefore, we had hundreds of years of colonization. A strong mind of a young people is the foundation. And by strong mind, I mean mind that is free, that comes up with bold ideas, that is free to radically think of new solutions. Because all the more important today is technological sovereignty. In an age and day where emerging technologies like AI, drones, cyber warfare, warfare in the space, quantum computing, semiconductor fabrications, when these new technologies are actually playing such pivotal role in a nation's strengthening, our minds of our young people must be the sharpest. If we import technology, we are exporting sovereignty. If we are importing technology, we are importing dependency. Our young people in our colleges, our universities, in our think tanks, we need to work on building the most cutting-edge solutions in the most radical way. So let us keep a strong mind with a free spirit. Then we need strong hands to build. Because unless you build stuff, unless you are a manufacturing powerhouse, unless you have your ability to play a pivotal role in the global supply chain, you will not be taken seriously at the table of power. So if you're a young Indian today and you know how to build something for India. Just last week I was at a very interesting factory in Bangalore called SSS Defense. Young kids coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities, small-time colleges, they are building, designing, and manufacturing rifles, weapons, anti-drone systems. And on all of them, they have one tagline, born in Bharat. That is building for India. That is why we need strong hands. Then we need strong teams. Lachit Barphukan, if you have heard the story of Lalitaditya, when he fought against the Arabs, he inspired people from all over India to come together and put up a resistance. That's what one hero's work does. When Christopher Columbus set sail to reach India without GPS, without the navics of today, with just the spirit of adventure guiding him, it inspired a Vasco da Gama to finally come to India. So every individual, every hero is not only a product of his time, but he also inspires how the rest of the people in that time will function. So the spirit of adventure, the spirit of courage, the spirit to be free and think radically with bold, big ideas, I think that is the foundation for building a strong team and placing the mission above self. Especially in today's day and age, when algorithm warfare is a new type of cognitive warfare where people are trying to get into our minds, trying to divide us, one day on the basis of caste, the other day on the basis of language, the other day on the basis of north and south, east and west, what not. A vigilant young Indian must realize that the mobile phone in his hand can either be a tool for development or a tool for distraction. We saw during Op Sindoor how multiple efforts were made to weaponize narrative, where misinformation was fired as missiles. And in the coming day and age, when algorithms will become even more smarter, it will push all of us to be in an echo chamber where we will start believing only one version of what we think to be is true. That is where understanding that the mission is more important, understanding that original thinking, free mind, free spirit is more important, plays such a vital role. And the last, strong bodies and a strong heart. Friends, I have been going to schools and colleges of late talking to young people. We were just discussing this outside during lunch as well. I see that a lot of our young kids in our schools today are so soft. The world is not soft. Our adversaries won't treat us softly. So we need to become stronger. And the first thing that you need to strengthen is your body. Because a strong body is where a strong mind resides. So do challenging stuff. Run, lift, swim. Do something that you think is very difficult. When I was in school, I was not very good at non-scholastic activity. I was not very good in sports. But last year I decided that I want to challenge myself, and I decided I want to do the Ironman. It's considered one of the most difficult endurance challenges. In the middle of all the other responsibilities, I trained for it. I couldn't swim 25 meters the first day I went to the pool. But I ended up swimming 2.5 kilometers in the ocean. 1 kilometer I couldn't run. But after a 90-kilometer swim, a 2 kilometer swim, a 90-kilometer run, I managed a 22-kilometer run. I became the first member of parliament in India's history to be an Ironman. It pushed. But when you do hard things, you steel up. You become stronger. That just 1 year of training taught me so many more lessons of life that I didn't understand or learn in a textbook in a classroom. So do hard things, because India needs such people. And lastly, we need to have strong hearts. Because unless we come out of our comfort zones, unless we face defeat every day, unless we steel ourselves and get up, the country won't rise. And today the battle is not fought just on the borders. The battle is fought where you are standing. So the duty starts where you are presently standing today. And the nation as a civilization, as a society will fight. The coder who is securing the networks, the journalist who is speaking and amplifying and standing for the truth, the entrepreneur who is building solutions and wealth for India, the student who is using social media responsibly, all of this contributes to a strong national security today. Friends, we are here on the platform of Chanakya Defense Dialogue. The great Chanakya said this about how a strong nation will be. Artha shastram cha shasanam cha shastra shastram cha yantra kramaha yesham samanvaya karyo rashtrasya abhyudaye sada. It means a nation rises when there is strong economy, when there is good governance, when there is advancement of military and war technologies, and where there is excellence in technology and engineering. He was so prophetic to remind all of us that these are things that India should focus on. Today, our government has opened up all of these above sectors for participation for young people. We just saw Colonel Sofia Qureshi. Her address and her briefings inspired a nation in the most difficult of times, because our government decided that courage has no gender. If Rani Abbakka and Jhansi Rani Lakshmibai could fight, so can our girls today. That's a new frontier that's opened. Our young people could work in space only through government organizations. Today, you can build rockets, launch missiles if you start a private company. Aerospace is now open for innovation for young people. If you want to build something that the Indian Army wants to buy, the military forces need, you can start a fund, you can start a organization, you can incorporate a company today. Initiatives like IDEX will support you. There are more than 350 cutting-edge technology companies that IDEX is supporting today. So if you want to build something for India, you necessarily not have to join the HAL or DRDO or even the Indian Army today. You can just open your laptop, sit in a cafe in Bangalore and build the algorithm or technology or the product that the country needs for its security. That's the opportunity that's open today. National Research Foundation promises 50,000 crore rupees fund for young people who want to start something incredible work in the field of research and development for national security. These are multiple opportunities the government has opened. Innovation is now the new Agni, and technology is the new Trishul. It is on the basis of these things that a new India is rising. I want to conclude by reminding all of you a very interesting principle that India always applied civilizationally to itself as one of the tenets of nation building. We always worshipped strength, but we also worshipped along with strength what is good and what is wise. Brahma and Kshatra and the harmony and interplay with each other was what was the basis of what is called dharma. When there was good, but there was no protection for the good, we lost our temples and our libraries were burnt. The thought of the pen must also be protected with the power of the sword. This was a very interesting lesson that we have repeatedly learnt in our history, that Brahma plus Kshatra is equal to Dharma. And Chanakya once again repeated in multiple places that Shakti Shantyasya Moolam, that Shakti is the Moola, is the basis for peace. Strength is the basis for peace. We need to be wise and we also need to be strong. We need to be traditionally rooted in timeless values of this civilization, but we must also be innovative and rise up to the modern challenges of technology. Nations do not rise by accident, my dear friends. They never do. If you look at the history of small countries like South Korea, Israel, Japan, completely brought to ashes, but how the collective will of an entire country rose it again. These are examples, inspirations for India. Today, a young guy is given multitude of opportunities to contribute to nation building in the way that you want. Opportunities are immense. Responsibility over comfort, discipline over distraction, and mission over mediocrity. I think this is the Indian advantage. Let us all strive to be citizens who are worthy of being defended. Let us all strive to be Indians who will usher in a new culture where we will not be okay with corruption in public life. We will be a new generation of Indians who will respect time, be punctual, deliver projects on time, because it speaks of national culture. Let us be beacons of integrity, because that is the civilizational example that Bharat has always shown for all of its existence. Together, let's make this happen. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram.